Welcome back to another great episode here of The Real Estate of Things. I'm your host, Nate Trunfio with Lima One Capital. And man, I am excited to introduce you to the man, Chris Eymann. He has significant heavy experience in all things single-family real estate investing, with some headlines of purchasing over 10,000 homes, lending over $1 billion in private hard money lending, and much, much more that we'll get into here on this exciting show and episode. So Chris, man, welcome to REO Team.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just start with the basics. I gave the headlines, but give us a little bit more, just the high level of what you do, because you do a lot. And I'd love for the audience to sort of get a good gist of that before we get into some detailed topics here.
Yeah, so I'm just, I'm mainly in Phoenix, Arizona. I dabble in Florida. When I say dabble, I think we do like 3 or 4 deals a month, nothing crazy. Where we do, maybe 30 to 40 deals here in the Phoenix market. I just had to, we're both in a mastermind together, Collective Genius. So I just had to pump out last year's numbers, so I kind of know them. So we did 442 houses last year in 2022. We always do we bounce between 400 and 500 hard money loans. Nothing like Lima Capital over there, but we're just a little boutique shop, out of Phoenix, Arizona, just doing some stuff.
Man, you're a humble guy, Chris, man. But so knowing that you are that, like, just really quick, broad strokes, like clearly you got a team, man, in a well-oiled one, I'm sure. So just give me the high strokes of the team on the lending side and also on the acquisition and hard asset side.
So on the lending side, it's just we have a loan processor. So in Arizona, you have to be a mortgage banker to lend and service and all the stuff that we do here. And so we're a mortgage banker. I'm the responsible individual for the bank. Every banker needs what's called an RI. And then I'm the loan officer too. And then I just have a loan processor. I'm a little bit more expensive, and I guess I should say that I've been a little bit more expensive than everybody in town for, call it, the last 3-4 years, because everybody dropped in like that 10.5 and 11 space, and I've always been at 12. I guess I'm probably not more expensive because everybody's credit lines are creeping up, and I just sell to private guys. So I just originate loans at 12. I sell them at 10. It's pretty simple. just a bunch of buddies, and then that's it. And then on the acquisition side, we're not like all these guys that do all the direct to seller marketing. What we do is we kind of wholesale everything. We have probably about 5 to 6 teams that are younger guys, hustlers, that just, I kind of give them all the information, all the tools to make them dangerous, and say, hey, you can cold call, you can text, you can door knock, however you want to do it. You go get the contract, I'll throw up the earnest money, and then I'll sell it, and we'll 50-50 split it. So we don't have any in-house acquisition guys. We have 2 in-house underwriters. So these teams run out and they door knock, they cold call, they text. They get an address, they shoot it to us, and we're like, hey, that's a 200 house. We're a buyer at like 130. They go grab it for 130. Maybe we push it out the door at like 142. They get 6, we get 6. But as soon as they get the A to B contract, they shoot it to our TC. We courier over the earnest money. We send it out on our list. We have about 11,000 people we send it to. And then they just go find their next deal.
Awesome. That's cool, but hey, 2 lean, mean operating machines there, and I'm sure you got a lot of great people in that, and some great processes as well. I'll tell you from the lending side, knowing the services that you provide, which we'll circle back to lending here, you're probably not charging enough, quite honestly, especially with what's going on out there in the market. But I know you're running some great operations with some great solutions for investors. So let's hit that acquisition side a little bit more. But really, actually, to get to the point to doing 400 plus deals, which it sounds like you've been at for a little while, like, How long did it take you to get to that pace, and how long have you been at that pace of sort of transactional activity?
So, I started, I'm not the sales guy. I'm not the guy that can close at the coffee room table or the dining room table, whatever. So I actually started in 99 just going to trustee sale. A math major, I can calculate, ARVs, what you need to buy at pretty quickly in my head. So that was a space where I started. I spent most of my time at trustee sale, probably from kind of 99 all the way through maybe 2018. So I had to learn this new direct to seller acquisition side just recently. So that's where, the Mastermind Collective Genius definitely helped out. But so I started just, wholesaling in 99, probably before the word was even invented. So I would just go to the foreclosure steps. I didn't have any cool emails, distribution system, or text. It was literally just, I'd go buy a house at the trustee sale. I bought my first 3 and I flipped them. And then, but back in 99, if you're going to the bar, you're networking with people, you're like, I'm buying at the courthouse. And everybody's like, nobody buys at the courthouse. I buy at the courthouse. So then it was just dial for dollars. I had like 20 buyers. I'd be like, hey, I bought 123 Main Street. I bought it. It's worth like 150. I paid 100 for it. I'll meet you. I'll sign over because you just get a 1-page contract at the trustee sale. You had to put $1,000 at the trustee sale at the time and pay by 5 p.m. the next business day. I'm like, hey, I'll get you set up. We'll meet at the trustee and you give me my $1,000 back plus maybe like another $2,500. Bring that in cash, by the way. And that's how I started. And then that went to, can I use your hard money lender? So I was referring hard money off to this other guy. At the time, it was 18%. I did that for like a year. And then I was, going through the one ads. Remember the real estate one ads? I was going through the one ads, and I found a guy that had a bunch of cash. He's like, I'll lend you money at 12. Go charge 18. Great. I'll lend it to you at 12. And now I'm making a 6-point spread for bringing my guys to him. He was just paying me the 6-point spread. I would still have to bring the buyer to him. He had all the docs set up. I wasn't doing any of that. And then the guy that I was sending all the business to saw, hey, I'm losing. Why are you using me anymore? And I'm like, well, I got this guy that's got all this money. He's giving it to me at 12. I'm lending it at 8. I'm making money. Anyway, long story short, I introduced the 2 guys. Next thing I know, I own a percentage of a hard money company. I own a percentage of an acquisition company, a trustee sale. And I think in 2003, we got our first line of credit for $25 million from Wells Fargo Foothill. And then I'd say we were averaging probably 3 to 4 houses a day at trustee sales. So 600 to 800 houses a year.
Awesome.
So that's from 2000 to 2002 to 3. That was the transition.
Interesting. So it's been quite a while, and then you've continued to probably mold and morph some of your processes and tactics, and relationships, of course, grew because, you went from what you said, 20 buyers to now a population of 11,000. Technology came in the mix and helped you there. Like you could say you've been through a bunch of ebbs and flows and ups and downs. If you were to pick a couple years segment from 1999 to 2023 that was your favorite time to operate and transact and acquire, what time frame was that?
It was probably a little bit too much stress on our lives, but call it 2010 to 2013. We bought for a company called Fria, which was a Goldman Sachs fund. And I mean, our single biggest day at trustee sale was 27 houses. So I got completely wiped out in 2008 because I had a personal guarantee. When Wells Fargo Foothill gives you a $100 million line, they also give you this giant stack from their lawyers, right? So personal guarantees and all that. So got wiped out. So I couldn't. And obviously the flood of houses going to trustee sale. I mean, I think there were 1,000 houses a day in this town scheduled. So what we did is we created a bid service where we would publish all the houses, all the opening bids. We would drive them all. We'd put drop boxes of it on and all. And you could bid online. You can sit there right from where your Lima Capital and just watch your computer and watch the houses go. And then what would happen, it would be an internal bid on the computer, and then whoever had the highest. So if, the trustee starts calling the sale, hey, 123 Main Street, we would close it on our app, hit the call button, it would dial that investor's phone number, and then they could be live while the trustee sale happened. But then when we got the Frio account, they literally gave us their buy box, their spreadsheet. We'd punch it in. We'd go out and buy a house, and then they would pay us $1,500 per transaction. Now, I had to go back to that same guy that gave me money at 12% again. In 2006, he's like, I think I'm going to quit lending. I was like, everything's great. Why would you just stop doing business? I should have learned. When he said that, I should have figured something out. But I had to go back to him, and he's like, all right, I'll give you all the money for these purchases because, Frio wanted title insurance, which you don't get at trustee sale. So he'd be like, all right, you get half, I get half. So we were buying, stucco tile houses for like $60,000 and selling them, but you had to wait for the deed to come in, and that was like 7 to 10 days, right? So we'd sell them, 10 days later for $61,500, which, for him, he's putting out $60,000 and getting $750 back in 10 days. That's a good deal for him, right? I don't know, his return on investment, it's like 30 or something, right? And then, so it was kind of fun going to trustee sale, and you walk in the room, and, Doug Hopkins was bidding for Blackstone at the time.
Nice.
So it was just like, but everybody else would be like, these guys are here again.
Well, it sounds like the good old days, and I'm sure you've had a lot of those, and certainly a lot's changed, but a lot of the fundamentals that you're referencing here haven't, and a lot of that, from what I'm hearing, is just making sure that you're buying right and you have liquid capital and ease in access to it. So let's fast forward then to sort of nowadays in the current time frame. Talk to us on the acquisition front. Like, what are just some of the trends that you're seeing when working the model that you're doing now?
Yeah, so obviously we kind of stick to, obviously we stick to that, kind of that B-class house. We had to stay away, in Phoenix, Arizona, we had to stay away from all that kind of really new stuff for a long time, because you had Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, then you had all the buy and hold funds that were just like gobbling at, Roof Stock, Progress Realty, like 1990 and newer, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car, if it fit that model, it was going for retail, whether it was a trustee sale or wherever it was. So we kind of had to work those areas where they didn't want to buy, little older product, that kind of stuff. Now it's just back to the good old days where those guys are not around, and the interest rates aren't 3, so people aren't, grabbing, your typical guys and buying like 2 and 3 houses and all that. And you have just kind of a normal market. So right now, I actually love it. A little fear out there. Everybody's like, what's happening next? I'm like, I don't care. I'm buying stuff at 60 cents on the dollar.
That's where you make your money, right? And I think, no one here wants to root for any distress in the market, that's for sure. But, with some realm of threat and stress comes the biggest opportunities. And you yourself, I'm sure, can speak to that, just because you've been through a lot of these cycles where there's a lot of just negative press, and then certainly negative results in the real estate market. And, it's interesting. We've seen like a positive wave in the first month and a half, 2 months of this year. And I think we're in for an interesting time here upcoming. But with that and some of the challenges that come, it can create the most and biggest opportunity. So it's interesting, cool to hear you feel that, and also articulate a little bit of why, a lot of parts of Arizona was sort of the boom, places to be and in regards to value. And unfortunately, they've also had some of the big busts and drops here recently. But again, all that just creates the opportunities. So in your co-wholesaling model, it sounds like, just confirm, you help run and put the platforms in place for marketing. And if so, or if not, like, what is working, what's not on the marketing side and in regards to acquisitions right now?
Yeah. So obviously, back, when I first started, it was letters and all that kind of stuff. And obviously it's moved way more towards virtual assistant cold calling and texting. That is obviously the easiest and cheapest acquisition. Now, obviously, if you put out a text or a cold call today, that's probably a 90 to 120 day lead versus, like I said, get old Doug in my operation here in Phoenix. He's got his little commercials running around. Obviously that's a way hotter, ready to go lead. But obviously the spend is way more. I mean, I think pay-per-click here is, in Phoenix, Arizona, because it's kind of the guru central part of the country. I want to say a pay-per-click lead is like $500, So whereas you get, out of market, something like that, you can get pay-per-click leads for, $30, $40 to $100, yeah, but in Phoenix, it's just nutty. And then if you're not like 100% on your game, if you don't have your systems dialed in, you're just going to get eaten alive by acquisition costs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you can't beat the system, right? And you have to have some realm of staying power. I mean, TV is certainly known to be, one of, if not the most expensive, but it can have a pretty broad reach. It's also very hard to track in ROI if you don't have the right systems. But I know Doug's got that dialed in, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If you had sort of somebody new to investing and they wanted to try and cheat the system, and it may just not be possible, but I'm interested in your perspective. Like, what would be the marketing strategy to try and build up as quickly as possible if there is such a unicorn?
One of my biggest clients in town that brings me deals is, they're just, obviously having the right guy at the door is number one, right? The guy that can close. You need a closer. If I'm not a closer, I'm too nice of a guy. I can't ask for a contract, the guys that are good at closing, if you're not one of them, hire him, because you need that guy first. But if you got that guy, then I think door knocking foreclosures, door knocking back taxes, any city lien lists, anything like that, I think is, you're not going to get huge volume, but when you hit it, my daughter's a licensed agent. She just listed a property from my door knocking foreclosure guy. She just listed it $330. I just pulled the tax records because she's like, "Hey, Dad, can you comp this for me? He's asking me what I should list it for." He bought it for $102.
Jeez.
$102. She's listing it for $330. And he's like, if you don't have a contract in a week, drop it another 10. If you don't have another,
sure.
But he's got, 200,000 plus in room on it. So, so I think that's the kind of a great way to start. But, I kind of tell, because I do some coaching to anybody, I'm like, hey, do some VA outbound cold calling. If you don't have a budget, cold call yourself. Obviously, cold calling is a tough gig. So I do a three-pronged strategy. Get some cold callers out there, do some texting, and then when you kind of get, you're beaten down a little bit, do some outbound agent outreach for some cold wholesaling. So that's it's like a three-pronged strategy I give my students. And then, when you really are beaten up because you're just tired of people saying, "Hey, just leave me alone," then go build your dispo list and be like, hey, I'm a new guy. Can I add you to my list? Because most of them say yes.
Sure. It sounds like, I mean, you covered a lot there. And I think some of the key things, as you said it earlier, but very briefly, is like your systems and processes are really important, because there is no one size fits all marketing plan, and there is no unicorn trick to build something up really quickly. I hope you listener also heard, is someone who's super passionate about sales, given my role here at Lima One Capital, it's really maybe not about the lead and the marketing. It's about the sales process in person. And certainly you can improve conversions by sharpening your tactics and how you go to market from a marketing perspective. But if you don't have a good sales process nailed down, it's hard to convert and close. And so, I think the human element of that you can never get away from, whether it's VA humans or, nowadays with compliance through texting, you have to have a human clicking the button a million times to send all those blasts out. But, the human element you can't get away from. And sort of, to me, that's a lot of sales 101. So let's enter into the next sort of side and spectrum of typical real estate investing. You brought it up here on the dispositions front. So I'm just going to ask you the same question, but on dispositions, like what are the trends you're seeing on the sales side?
So I guess I hate to say it, but we're kind of lazy because we have 11,000 people in our database and we've been in business for 20 years. So we still just do a mass email. I don't do any texting to our customers because, I still haven't found a platform that's going to let me send out 11,000 text messages. Sure. 20 days a month. I can get away with it with email, but I've kind of thought about bringing in the, just kind of like looking at my who bought those 442 homes last year, maybe just do a quick text to them. But, I don't know, we have such a mass outreach. And then, I'm the president of the local RIA and, and then so you see a little bit of education ads, you see some stuff on my RIA, Instagram and Facebook also. I do a podcast once a week. So, I have I'm not out there doing any advertising, like paid advertising. So you have signups on our disposition list, 3 to 4 a day, just from, miscellaneous stuff. And, if that guy just signs up, I don't want to have my little stacked guys over here and not even give him a chance to even buy the house. He's new, right? So I guess I just keep email blasting.
Hey man, if it's not broke, no need to try and fix it. And I think the important thing you're saying here too, because of all the diverse ways you're out there, is just you got to be visible.
Yeah.
And your relationships, whether virtual or in person, will spread as long as you continue to be visible doing what you do. What do you see is on the dispo side? Any trends on what's selling quicker or not? Obviously, real estate is very location and market centric and reliant, but in your markets, any trends on that side?
No, and we, kind of my biggest, we did some great numbers just like anybody in real estate for the first 6 months of 2022. But I think one of my best stats of 2022 is we wholesaled 44 houses in October when everybody's but it was just hey guys, talking to those 6 acquisition teams, it's hey, if you want to make money this month, you're going to have to get a deal that makes that seller who just got on the fence jump off the fence. You're going to have to make him jump off the fence. He's going to have to be oh, I just bought one in that subdivision last year for $100,000 more. I got to take it, and that was the conversation that we just had to have with them. And hey, we need to be lower. We need to be, before we were spending, if you had a deal in Phoenix, you could sell, funds buying, you could really just buy a house and sell it to Open Door, right? And make a clip on it. So yeah, it's just, changing your conversation. So
interesting. And so, when you are putting out all these deals and opportunities, is there any type of messaging that you see that's clicking more than not, or are you you got a tried and true content piece, or talk to me there?
No, I just, I think we just, we keep, networking is kind of like my thing, right? I just got on social media because I had to. It wasn't, and it's funny is it wasn't even I had to. I kept trying to push my kids. I have 3 younger kids. I got a 22, 24, 26. I'm like, hey, you guys jump on social media. This is your world. This is you right here. And they're like, well, we don't want to put our faces out there. And I'm just like, so it was just kind of actually one of those things. It's like, no, that doesn't excuse doesn't work. And I'm like, I'm 51 years old. I don't want to be on social media, but I'm going to prove to you that it works. So I'll go do it myself. And then they're like, oh, good old dad's on social media. I do get some texts like, Dad, you should make sure your background's a little better or something like that. I'm like, hey, you guys could be doing this. So, but no, it's just, I think it's just about the message. And then, I do the RIA, and this year's message has kind of been like, hey, the volume isn't going to be the same in any market, whether it's our market, your market, whatever. We used to do 12,000 houses a month in Phoenix. That's times 12. That's 140 transactions. In October, we did 4,600 transactions, and now January and February have been like that $9,000 mark. So
sure.
We're back to like 75%. But so the message is right now is like, hey, the volume's down. If you have a lead in the door, you need to figure out how to monetize that. It might be a wholesale deal. Great. If that's not a wholesale deal, then it might be a novation. And if it's not a novation, maybe it's a subject to. And if they just want top dollar, just say, okay, we give you top dollar, but we got to take it to the MLS. And you better have a real estate agent on your team. The days of just being a wholesaler, just being a subject to guy, just being a novation guy, or just being a realtor, I think it's like, hey, go be a problem solver for these people. And then you can learn how to monetize that lead no matter what.
I like that. And I was saying sales, it's all about providing solutions and identifying needs and pains. And that sounds like exactly what you're doing. I want to hit one of the last topics on sort of the dispo front. So everybody loves to see on social media these big pictures of a check with some fat number on it, right? So how does Chris look at like margins? Like, you touched on that a little bit and alluded to it, but I'd like for you to dissect that.
So I won't throw any checks on social media, but our goal is, I love going to Collective Genius, and they say, oh, the average wholesale fee is like $30,000. Not in Phoenix, it's not. The average wholesale fee is like 12 maybe. And then I'm splitting that with my acquisition teams. But a dollar in the door is a dollar in the door. So my numbers in February, we did 35 transactions at $250,000 gross. Standard 20% to the acquisition guy, right? So, that's $200,000 off 35 deals. What is that, like 7?
Yep.
So there it is. But I'm not. I'll take a wholesale fee for 3. I'm not gonna turn it down.
Sure. And, especially when you got the systems and the processes to do it, dollar in the door. I love that line. So, it also allows you in the wholesale realm, just like many other strategies that you referenced, to not take balance sheet risk. So with that said, let's move to the lending side of the conversation. So you've been in hard money and, when you cross into the private money, private lending type realm, however you want to define it, for a little while. So, I'm sure you've seen a lot of, again, ebbs and flows, but just like what's changed from then till now in regards to the lending that you've been in?
Yeah. So obviously 2007 and 2008 was no fun in lending. I got this little like plaque that I still have. It says Wells Fargo Foothill $100 million line that they gave me. I think I had that when I was in my 30s, so that was pretty good to have. And I'm like, but I also signed a personal guarantee and got clobbered upside the head. So, but now I'm just I don't want to sign any personal guarantees. So I just, after 2000, kind of 8, I'm like, hey, I'll get back in the lending business. I'm not going to go get any institutional money. I got a group of guys that just want to click their 10% interest check, and I go originate at 12, and I take my 2-point spread, which I think is pretty good. I think most funds are what they call an 80-20, right? So the promoter gets the 20, the fund gets the 80. So kind of the same thing. I'm 12 and 10. I lend out at 12. I get to keep 2 points on the deal, and I get a $700 fee along with it. And so maybe I'm like a 2.4 or something like that.
Sure.
And then that's how we do it.
It's simple. And so the private individuals, and it sounds like a lot of friends that you have, give me a quick story or two about how you came to, some probably higher net worth individuals that are willing and trusting of you to deploy capital and then sort of sell a note to them and make a couple of dollars. Like, give me a story or two of who and how you met some of them.
It's kind of, obviously I've been around Phoenix for a long time. When I had this story, and I've told the story just kind of like I told you, like had the $100 million line of credit, had the plaque that said I had it, was lending. So, when you're trying to deploy $100 million in town, like your name gets around, right?
Sure.
But in the downturn, I kind of did a little asset management for Wells Fargo Foothill, did some foreclosures, did all that stuff. And then, I didn't, Wells Fargo lost $6 million. Chris Eymann personally lost 4.8. And I had that conversation with him, like, you lost $6 million. I personally lost 4.8 million. Like, I'm not. And then I just, actually someone gave me advice. He's just like, they're going to keep calling you, just ignore them. And I didn't file bankruptcy. I lost about $1.5 million of friends and family money, and spent from 2008 to 2015 paying it all back. I'm like, hey, I'm not paying you $1 interest. I will give you all your principal. So I paid it all back. And then, when that happened, it's just like, everybody's like, yeah, let's give Chris money. He pays back.
Hey man, I mean, it's easy for you to say it now. And for what it means, it's super commendable, but then super credible. And that's what helps build rapport. And that is so important when you're out there raising money and helping others invest money through you and your strategies. So you talked about being a solution provider, on the sales side. A lot of people in lending are always, what's the rate? What's the rate? What's the rate? Answer, why does the rate not matter when you have a reliable hard money private lender in your stable? Give that little sort of, I know you said you're not a sales guy, but give that pitch, please.
So, obviously, you said you guys are in 46 states. So, some of these, bigger guys come to town, and obviously all these funds had all that cash raised. And so a lot of those single family home buyers turned into lenders themselves because they had all that cash, right? But all that with these big lenders like Lima Capital, I'm just the local guy, right? So the typical hard money guy that has the lower rate, maybe it's a 10, is going to ask for your last 3 deals, right? He's going to ask for pre-HUDs, after HUDs, all the pictures, before and after pictures. They don't even really want to talk to you until you did 3 to 5 deals. I, on the other hand, if you text me right now on my phone, said, hey, Chris, I need a hard money lender right now, I would forward it to my processor. My processor, I would have you underwritten because I'm an acquisition guy for houses in Phoenix. So I would look at it just as an acquisition, like, okay, you're buying it. It's worth $200. You're buying it for $140 from a wholesaler, right? All right. I'd buy that house at $120. I'll take my 15% down, which is $21,000, right? That gets me my loan amount at like $119 to $120. I would buy that house. Hey, Michelle, shoot them over an app. It's a 1-page app. Because if you don't pay me, I'm just looking at it as an acquisition. Boom. Here's a DocuSign on your computer. an hour later, click the button, boom. Or I send you the thing. Do I have permission to speak with you electronically? So that goes first, right? I got to click that button. As soon as they do that, boom, they have their app over there. Versus, some kind of, I call it soft money, some soft money lender that's going to give you money at 10% and a point. Got to fill out that 3-page app, got to submit all your stuff. So yeah, I've been more expensive. I'm probably in the ballpark of what people are lending at now. Whether there's a big lender in Phoenix that is jumped. They were always at like 900 and 10.5%, but now they're like 11 at a point. I'm like, it's the same money as 12% and the $700 fee. And actually, if you buy it and you get lucky and you sell it in 60 days, I go, that guy's way more expensive.
It's true. And, I always say, time only kills deals and speed only wins them. So with that, what would be your average text, call, email? Chris, I need some money. Here's the deal. What's your average first inquiry to ability to close? Like, what's your short, easy process take?
No. So yeah, people just text me and I'm like, hey, what are you getting it for? What do you think it's worth? Obviously, I just check the numbers and I'm like, hey, I'm 15% down. Let's just get that, get that done right now because, people ask, hey, will you do 100%? I'm like, I don't. I know there's guys out there that do. So, feel free to text them. Will you do 10% down? I'm like, no. I'll do 15% down. And even the guys that are like, I get the sales guy, what if I give you 50% down? I'm like, I loan at 12, I pay 10. Like, it doesn't do me any good to lower my rate. Even if you give me 50% down, I'm sure someone will give you a lower rate. I just don't have any room to do it. So.
And so, but again, that closing time frame is a day. It could be easily a day.
Yeah, I fund a trustee sale, so if we bid today, I got to close by 5 p.m. So I get and obviously some out of town lenders don't understand trustee sale, don't want to understand trustee sale. So that's a niche that, a lot of bigger guys can't compete. Now, there's not a lot of trustee sales right now, but yeah, I can get a text and fund tomorrow, no problem. I just, got to get the updated prelim, as you know, and that takes the title about 24 hours to do.
Of course.
So,
well, man, we've covered a lot of ground here. Before we sort of exit out, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that want to get in touch with you. So what's the best way to get in touch with Chris?
Yeah, I'm just, on Instagram, just Chris_Eymann on Instagram. You can watch, I'm on Just for Flips on YouTube channels. I talk about novations and subject twos and all kinds of different stuff. I talk about, I put out some different stuff. I mean, I don't know if you kind of heard, Tricon, Canadian fund, is looking at dipping their toe in the water here sometime soon. That's recent news. Progress Realty is reaching out also and thinking about dipping in their toe back in the water too. So, I always try to keep up with the latest and greatest stuff happening,
You have to, and it sounds like you do, man. Well, it's been a pleasure, and man, we really appreciate you dropping a ton of valuable content on a lot of different spectrums here. I'm gonna give you, and I'm sure you got a lot of nicknames that are much better than this, but I'm gonna go with like Chris the Nice Guy Eymann. You used that earlier, and I mean, look, from just being too nice at times to maybe ask for the sale to making sure you pay back what was given to you, which is super commendable, man, and then just being nice enough to be here on this show. Chris, man, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for dropping all this knowledge on us here today, man, and I'm sure you're going to keep kicking butt and looking forward to continue seeing you do that.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. It's always fun to, explore this stuff with new people, right?
Always, man. You can't have enough relationships in real estate. That's for sure.
For sure.
That's a wrap. This is Nate Trunfio, finished up with another amazing episode of Real Estate of Things with my man, Chris Eymann, covering grounds from acquisitions, dispositions to lending, all sides of a real estate transaction. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform. Check us out every Tuesday for new, fresh episodes to drop. And also, you can find all things of Real Estate of Things at our website, realestateofthings.co. Much more information to come. Looking forward to catching you next time.